This happened around July of 2014. Some backdrop: I am a 19-year-old female, and at the time of this event, I was 18. Me and my friends live in a small town of Stony Creek, Ontario. Living in Canada, we generally are not very concerned about rapists, pedophiles, and murderers. It was the summer before we headed off to university, and we all just wanted to have just a really good time. So the 5 of us decided that we would have a sleepover at my friend's house, who lived around a nice, somewhat suburban neighborhood. So, 9:30 rolls around and here we are blasting music, drinking, and just generally having a good time. At this point of the night, me and my friend decide that we should totally go get a late night snack. Since I had drank 2 coolers, I could not drive, because the G2 regulations of driving demanded that we have a 0 alcohol blood level. No worries, we thought. A local Subway restaurant was just about 15 minutes away from where my friend lives. So me and my friend were just walking on the sidewalk. My friend, being a little drunk, decides to talk in a really loud and obnoxious voice about how hungry she is. Sadly, the alcoholic high that I was feeling begins to fade quickly, leaving me to contend with a drunken, overactive teenager. As we are walking, we hear rustling. We look up to see a man sitting on his porch just staring at us. This guy looked vaguely familiar to me, but I just could not pinpoint where I had seen him before. He looked relatively tall, had black hair, and was a tad bit overweight. As we were passing him, I noticed that he kept on looking at my friend. I kind of shrugged it off, and thought he found her attractive since she was short and looked way young to be 18. Older men were just typically drawn to her. As we are walking just past his small white house, I hear him call after us. I turn around, and there he is, in a grey shirt and black sweatpants, just staring really creepily at her. As we came to a stop, he proceeded to ask us where we were going. Before I could muster a benign response, my friend happily tells him that we are going to Subway for a little snack. She does not usually act this sociable before, and is being totally oblivious to the weird vibes that this creep is giving off to me. As his piercing gaze lands back onto my friend, he then goes on to ask how old she is. Now I really start to feel scared. I know when an older man asks about a young girl's age, nothing good can come from the situation. I try to signal with my eyes to her not to answer, when she stupidly blurts out that she is 18 years old. The creep's eyes flicker for a bit from her response. He tells her that she looks younger than 18, to where she giggly replies that she often hears that quite a bit. Now I just want to leave badly. This guy is approaching closer to my friend and I grab her arm, pulling her towards my side. The guy finally looks back at me, and asks us if we want to come join him on his porch. I quickly muster a no as I try to push her down the sidewalk. But before I can turn around, he looks back to my friend and says in a deep raspy voice that he will see her again before the night is over. I look down at her, and the terror is clearly drawn on her face. Now I know we need to leave. I haul her in front of me and we speed walk to Subway, which is just about 6 minutes away. As I look back, I see the creep staring her up and down, just before he looks to me. He opens his mouth and shiver-reducing smirk, which bares his teeth. He then proceeded to nod and turn back up to his porch steps. I am basically running by now, carrying my pale-looking friend with me as we walk into Subway. Quickly, I recite the orders to the lady behind the counter, urging her with my eyes to pick up the pace because I just want to get back to my friends. As the woman goes about making our subs, I feel a shivers run across my skin. I turn my head to the side, as I look out of the windows to see that guy again. He is right outside of Subway, and he is just staring at us with his eyebrows drawn together. Now I have no idea what to do. How can we leave peacefully if he is just outside? What if he comes in? His gaze then moves to my friend. He looks as if he is undressing her with his eyes. I notice he is lightly touching his crotch area as he continues to stare at her. Now I know that this creep has gone too fucking far. I turn back to the lady behind the counter and point my finger towards the sicko. As she turns her neck to look at him, her eyes widen. She stops making our subs and just leaves abruptly to go into the back room. The creep notices that something is off and he just turns and leaves, walking brusquely out of the vicinity. When the lady comes back she abruptly hands me a poster. The name on the poster said he was Keith. He was a convicted rapist in Hamilton. He sexually assaulted a young boy in a park, and raped blind women. He even raped and beat young women in her parents' basement. The poster listed the details of his parole. He was not allowed to be alone with children under the age of 16 and he could not go to any community parks or pools. His curfew was 11 p.m., and unfortunately when we looked at the time, it was only 10:08 p.m. This guy was listed as likely being able to re-offend again. The thing that really creeped me out was his unnatural obsession with young boys and girls. That is why he was so fixated on my friend. We did not know whether to notify his parole officer since he technically did not breach any of the conditions of his parole. We also did not want to get in trouble from our parents for underage drinking and walking around at night. So we decided to just keep it to ourselves. Shortly after, I called my friend to come pick us up, because there was no way I was walking past his house again. This creep was the epitome of evil. He told a reporter that he calls his condition the devil's curse. He has to meet with a therapist once a week just to keep his sexual urges at bay. Thankfully, he was arrested a few days later for a breach in curfew. Creepy rapist, let's not meet again, please.